we'll give them another minute or so to join, but I appreciate everybody showing up on time. So thank you. I think we have enough people to get started. We will be recording this as well. So I think, let me just check my Facebook feed to make sure that we are on Facebook. I think we are. Yep, we're on Facebook. All right, good. Hey, Jackie. Jackie's joining us. All right. So two great companies. We've got Sara Hoverson with livable.com, and we've got Johnny Wolf with homeroom.com or livehomeroom.com. We'll do Sara for about 25 to 30 minutes, and then we'll turn it over to Johnny to do his presentation, and then we'll open it up for Q&A. But in the chat box, you do have the ability to ask questions. So please feel free to send questions to us. We'll probably wait till the end of the presentation so you can ask questions to both Sara and to Johnny. Both innovative companies, and let me do a quick introduction for Sara. Sara is an account executive with Livable and has been with the company for 2 years, a Texas native. So mostly we hear about Californians moving to Texas. So we've got one person moving from Texas to California. All right, Sara. She now lives in sunny, beautiful San Diego, and loves having the chance to share Livable's services and missions of conservation with housing providers and investors in California and beyond. Livable, and I've gotten to know Daniel and Jimmy and Sara over at Livable, really nice, wonderful people. But Livable is a premier software company whose vision is to bring enterprise level billing and analytics systems to multifamily owners and investors of all portfolio sizes. Based in San Francisco, they've expanded in the past several years to promote accountability and conservation from renters while increasing the ROI to housing providers on their multifamily assets. So guys, we're looking at, in these tough times, we're looking at increasing your yield and reducing your costs. All right. So Sara is going to talk about how multifamily owners, investors can look at their utilities and so on, and how they can bring those down. So with that, Sara, thank you for making the time. I welcome you to our meetup, our online meetup, and it's all yours.
Great. Thank you so much for the introduction, Bobby. Really appreciate it. Appreciate everyone's time today. Really happy to have the chance to present and get to know you guys on a virtual kind of platform, and really looking forward to the chance, hopefully next year, to be able to present to you guys in person and meet face to face, and get back to normal a little bit. The presentation that I have today is going to talk about utility expenses and options in COVID times. It is kind of a longer presentation. It normally takes me a little bit longer than the allotted kind of 25 minutes that I'm aiming for. So I am going to run through it pretty quickly. If you guys do have questions, please use the chat box that Bobby mentioned, and then we'll have it open for questions at the end. But also I'm going to have my contact information, which I'll actually put in the chat as well. So I encourage anyone that has additional questions to get in touch with us and schedule a meeting with me, and I'd be happy to chat with you a little further about your specific properties or situation. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Okay. All right, so we are at the end. Okay, so first off, let's start with a little bit about who Livable is. We are a nationwide utility billing and management company. We are based out of San Francisco. We've been in business since 2009. We were founded by a group of owners and operators in the city for owners and operators. So they really needed a solution for passing through utility expenses to tenants for their own residents. And over time, we've branched out. We have partnerships with several of the major apartment associations across the state and are now in several other states as well. And our vision is to build a community around conservation, and our mission is to bring enterprise level tools to independent rental owners. So COVID-19 and shelter-in-place orders, landlord utility costs have already started to rise. We're hearing from owners who say that their expenses are, dramatically going up with their renters being at home, working from home, where normally they were out of the home for, 8 to 10 to 12 hours a day. We really don't know yet kind of what the relief is going to be, or if there is going to be any relief from the government. So it's really, now is a good time to be looking at what your options are, how you can start to kind of recover some of those expenses and have accountability from your tenants. We believe that education is key. So utility companies have resources available to educate tenants on conservation. We've found in the past 11 years that tying tenant usage to their wallets results in changing habits. Those would be reporting leaks faster, updating occupancy counts, which is important in especially rent-controlled areas to have a good idea of, the actually amount of people that are living in your units. And we have the ability to communicate with tenants on a monthly basis to kind of keep them informed of what rates are, how they're going up. There was a study done by the EPA that found that just providing tenants with information on their water consumption reduced their usage by 15% on average. And that is not even charging them, right? So just educating them on how much they're using and what the rates are, which for a lot of multifamily housing in California, tenants never have paid for, or traditionally haven't paid for water. They really have no idea what the costs associated are. It's kind of out of sight, out of mind. They don't know. So it's kind of a free for all and they use whatever they want. If you want to look at kind of national trends, utility costs are rising with no end in sight. You can see that over the past decade, water and wastewater bills have increased more than 30%. And that's larger or a greater percentage than the rate of inflation. So, especially in tougher rent controlled markets where you're only allowed to raise your rent by a certain percentage each year, the costs of operating your properties are going to far exceed that amount. Same thing for electricity. Over the past 10 years, residential electricity rates have also increased by about 15%. Recycling also is not the moneymaker that it used to be. China has stopped buying significantly less recycling from the United States, which has led recycling companies in LA and San Francisco, especially, to be a lot more strict about their sorting regulations. And they are now imposing fees and fines for improperly sorting because they're trying to find, additional ways to make money off of their service.
Hey, Sarah, real quick. I think the slides are not moving.
Oh, they're not? Sorry about that.
It could be the desktop share. I don't know if you were still on slide 1 or not, but
I'm sorry. Okay. I'm pressing resume share. My screen is paused. How do I? Okay, hold on. Okay, bear with me. It says my screen sharing is paused, but it doesn't give me the ability to resume.
Let me do this. What I'm going to do is, okay, if you stop sharing and then reshare, you should be okay.
Do you see the screen?
It's about to pop up. It says, no, so far I'm seeing a black screen. Johnny, do you see, maybe it's my internet, but what do you see, Johnny?
I see the same thing as you, Bobby.
Okay, so Sarah.
It says on my side, it says you are screen sharing and it's green. So.
Okay, let me do this. Let me do the following. Okay.
Sarah, you're screen sharing, but you're only sharing, like, you're not sharing the presenter view, you're sharing just a single slide, zoomed out.
Okay.
So I think you need to change which screen you're sharing.
Yeah. Sarah, try one more time.
Okay. Mm.
Or let me take control. Okay, there we go. There we go.
Do you see it now?
Yes, we
Yeah,
see.
it's up.
Is it moving?
Now it's moving, yeah.
Okay. Okay, great. I'll just leave. I don't know if this had anything to do with it. I'm just going to leave my video on down here. Okay, sorry about that, guys. Let me just kind of show you. We had seen a couple slides here about.
We were on recycling.
Yeah. So, okay. Recycling. Okay, so fees and fines for improperly sorting. Directly related to COVID, the pandemic has caused an increase in plastic and waste, so more than 30% more waste worldwide. Obviously, a lot more masks and also single-use plastics. So recycling and trash costs are likely to increase due to the pandemic. Legislation. So in California, 80% of tenants don't pay for water, which is an absolutely insane statistic. Because of that, a few years ago, SB 7 was passed to offset excessive consumption. And that is now requiring that individual submeters be put in place for all new multifamily housing built after January 1st of 2018. So that is the trend that the state wants to go, is charging tenants for their water. Just because, historically it hasn't been done and there's just been far too much waste. California was in a drought state for 3 years, and it's cyclical, so probably going to happen again, unfortunately. So it's really important that we're mindful of water usage. Other states like Texas have regulations, statewide regulations for submetering and for RUBS billing. There's already rent control here in California, so that's something to be mindful of. And more owners are finding ways to increase other income, which can be things like pet rent, parking, storage, and now utility expenses. A quick quote from Forbes on the importance of other income. Basically, if you have a property valued at a 7% cap rate and you add 50% in additional other income, you're actually increasing your property value by over $700,000. So it's really important to start looking at ways to increase the value of your property in kind of creative ways. So there's a few options in terms of how you can pass through utility costs to your tenants. Submetering is where your individual meters are installed. Now, Livable does not install or sell submeters, but we can help with the billing piece of this. Submeters can be very expensive to install, and not all properties, the way their piping is, especially if they're older properties, can support submeters. You have to get the proper permits from the utility department. So it can be kind of a longer and expensive process, but it definitely is the most accurate way to track and bill tenants for their usage. The other method is called ratio utility billing, and that's the acronym is RUBS. And there's no upfront cost to get started. There's no hardware to install. You can be billing within a week. So if you have a new tenant moving in and you include our lease addendum, you can start charging for utilities with the next billing cycle. There's no unit minimums with Livable. So we help single family homes, accessory dwelling units, all the way up to your garden style communities. Definitely more effective than flat rate billing. Again, think about if you're only charging $35 a month for water, that doesn't do anything to promote, better usage habits from your tenants to prevent them from taking hour-long showers or having a car wash for the neighborhood. It does rely on community efforts. So again, we really want everyone to kind of be aware and involved in this effort. So what's your NOI and the kind of benefit of installing either a RUBS or submetering system? So with a RUBS system, say that we bill back 80% of the utility charges or the water charges on a 150 unit complex, you can see that the monthly savings would be about $5,000 and your yearly annual savings of $60,000 that previously you were paying for. What is our process? So it's very simple. Enroll your buildings. You can either send it, depending on the rent control, where your specific property is located. And we do, as I mentioned, have a lot, years and years of experience operating in the Bay Area and beyond. So very familiar with the rent control restrictions that might be present in your specific area. You can either send a 30-day notice or provide a lease addendum to new tenants. Provide online access so our team can download the bills directly from PG&E. We allocate the bills using either an occupancy formula or square footage of the unit, depending on the utility. And then we have a platform where the tenants can pay us online and we reimburse you, or we can work with your property management software if you use one, and the tenants can pay you directly for their utility usage through your PM software. We also have a tenant support team to handle all tenant support or inquiries. Research before RUBS. So some other states have, some restrictions about billing for RUBS. So we can talk about that. If there's anyone from out of state that, wanted to implement the program, can talk to you more personally on that. We also offer a really amazing benchmarking and analytics system. So owners of commercial, mixed use, and multifamily buildings larger than 50,000 square feet have to report these through Energystar to the government. We can help with the tracking of those consumptions and cost, submitting those reports, really providing detailed analytics on a real-time basis so you can help to identify any inefficiencies at your property compared to other properties in your portfolio, also compared to other properties in the area. So there's a nationwide database of this type of information that we can kind of compare your properties to other properties in the area to see how well they're performing. And if the answer is not very well, maybe help to identify some things that could be improved to help improve performance. It's also really important that you have, a system or some way to be tracking bills. A lot of bills have anomalies or errors that might not be identified or might be caught too late and ending up in, credits and things like that, which can cause, some issues with tenants. So it's really important to have a way to be monitoring those sorts of things. So here's just a quick overview how Livable can help you. So our RUBS program, Submeter billing, benchmarking and analytics, monitoring and conservation tips. We have a free, we offer a way that you can do recovery estimates. So we have this free calculator. It's just livable.com/calculator. I'll put that in the chat along with this email address. And you can actually enter in some previous bills from your property and help get an idea of how much you can stand to recover, kind of how that would be parsed out to the tenants and what they can expect to pay. And if you do have a larger portfolio and you want us to help, we can also run those estimates for you. And yeah, again, my name is Sarah. So this is our email address. If you email this, I'll get right back to you. We can schedule a time to chat on a call. We can even do a demo of the platform, give you an idea of what it looks like from the property manager or owner side, and also from the tenant side. And that's it. I know that was pretty quick. So, and sorry for the technical difficulty there, but yeah.
Yeah, no, you did great. Thank you, Sarah.
Okay, great. Yeah.
No, yeah, I appreciate you squeezing it into 20 minutes or 25 minutes, but no, that was great. Look, folks, please stick around. We will have questions, question and answer session later, but you can also chat your questions if you are a multifamily owner, you got questions about how it works and how it could benefit you. You can chat your questions into the chat button, but we will open it up later on, so don't worry. So again, Sarah and the whole Livable team, you guys are doing good stuff. I truly believe in conservation, especially water conservation, electricity conservation, and so on. So I'm glad to be a partner of yours, and so thank you for that. And then Johnny, let me know if you're ready. And so I want to introduce Johnny and Homeroom to everybody as well. Great innovative company based out of Kansas City. And they took the concept of co-living and they really streamlined it. A lot of us have heard of co-living, and a lot of us have implemented maybe co-living opportunities here in the Bay Area. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. But what Johnny and the team have done is they've analyzed the right markets where co-living, even in the pandemic, even in the COVID times, it's still in demand. They have the right properties. So with that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it over to Johnny, and he will show you how you can utilize their platform to generate higher yield on your remote rentals, for example, or just on your rentals in general. But there's some great concepts, great nuggets of information that he will be sharing. It's mostly educational. So with that, Johnny, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thanks, Bobby. Really excited to be here. Really excited to be here on this group. As Bobby said, I am Johnny Wolf. I am the CEO of Homeroom, and we are the first co-living marketplace to help real estate investors essentially buy co-living properties. So what today I'm going to be talking about is key learnings from the co-living industry that will help all real estate investors. So I just think there's a lot of innovation that co-living operators can offer to our standard investors. A lot of the things, tips and tricks are things that I use on my private portfolio as well. So I'll go ahead and get, so as I said, I'm Johnny Wolf. I lived in the Bay Area after college for 10 years, and I lived with roommates the entire time. In 2015, I decided I was a VP at Bank of the West in San Francisco and decided, hey, I'm not gonna be able to afford to buy a house for a while. I want to move out of state, kind of like the opposite what Bobby was talking about. California's moving to Texas, so I moved to Austin after analyzing some different property markets within the United States. And so I thought that the Austin market had the best upside for appreciation, moved there and bought a number of properties. And I used the rent by the room model to kind of maximize rent, because the rent to income ratio is not great in Austin. It's more of an appreciation market than anything. So I did that a number of times and worked really well. In 2018, I analyzed another market. I was looking for a more cash flow focused market and chose Kansas City. And when I moved here, I had a lot of challenges finding roommates when I first came. And so I started Homeroom. I just thought that there had to be a better way to connect roommates to houses. And I had made really nice returns by doing rent by the room model. So I wanted to offer that to other investors. So that's really kind of where Homeroom started. And so I'm going to kind of go through what co-living is. I'm going to go through how you can benefit from this trend and the underlying trends that are driving co-living, and what operational processes can you learn from co-living companies. I think property management occasionally doesn't have as much innovation as we'd like to see. But one of the things is co-living is a lot of young venture capital funded companies, a lot of innovation there. And I think it can help any real estate investor operate their portfolio better. So first of all, let's talk about what co-living is and why it matters to any real estate investor. So co-living is post-college roommate housing with luxury apartment amenities. It really kind of came into the spotlight in the United States in around 2017 with, sorry about that. It came into the spotlight in 2017 when Hub House was featured in Politico. Really kind of the first foray into the United States. And you can see here, like in 2018, just article after article in Forbes, San Francisco Chronicle, Crunchbase. It's really just a company that's curating collective living together with young professionals. Usually there's a community aspect, which is a big focus, that engagement. And it's also more flexible and easier to move in and out, typically with furnished common areas. So that's really kind of what co-living is. We've seen venture capital and real estate development investors kind of surge into this space over the last 4 years. In 2017, 134 million was invested into the space. In 2019, it was up to $3.2 billion. And the real reason that the investment surged so much is that the co-living market is big. Cushman & Wakefield forecasted the co-living market in America and Europe, once it's fully mature, is going to be around $550 billion. And that they think that could happen over the next 10 years. This feature was in June of 2019. That number is astoundingly large, but let's break it down and why it is so big. Today we have 83.1 million millennials in the United States. And if each one of those millennials is renting a bedroom for $500 per month, that equals $497 billion a year. So it doesn't take much, and that's even a low probably estimate for the per room rental. My company, Homeroom, we're focused on the Midwest and Texas exclusively, good credit, no pets. And so even paring it down by location, it's a $12 billion market and we're targeting 25% of it. So we're talking to venture capitalists, which I was actually on a call with one today. We're targeting $3 billion of revenue just in the Midwest and Texas. What's really driving this, and kind of, I think the big question when you see that number of millennials is 83.1 million, it's a $500 billion market, but how many millennials, how many young adults are living like this? And the answer is a lot. 52% are living with parents today, and that's the most since the Great Depression, and 26% are living with roommates. So that number has trended upwards. In 1981, 11% of young adults live with roommates, today it's 26. It's been trending up like 1% every year. What we're seeing is that people are less and less living alone. They're making a financial decision. It's 30% cheaper typically to live in a co-living room than in a standard studio. So people are making that financial choice. They're saving money and they like the community. So less than 1 in 5 millennials are living alone today. So why would they pay more to be lonely? And that's kind of the big question that most people are thinking, like, I can get friends, pay less money, share expenses. And that just sounds more fun and cheaper. So when you look at the underlying kind of factors that are driving that, is really an extended young adult phase, right? From 20 to 35 is the new tweener life stage. People aren't getting married. They're just holding out. You can see on the right side, the average marriage age since 1981, again, has really it's increased by more than half a decade. So people are just delaying that marriage. Additionally, that group of people has like large, massive student debt. These are all millennial. This is all millennial. I call it millennial 101. Everyone kind of knows this stuff about millennials if they've read the papers. Lots of student debt, and they generally like to spend money on experiences, not housing or things. So there's not really studios, buy your own house. Those things don't match with this person. It's co-living, and that's where co-living has really kind of blossomed in the United States over the last 3 years. There are about 50 co-living companies throughout the U.S. There are 5 really big ones that have substantial venture backing. But you can see on the coast, we see Star City, Treehouse, June Homes, Common, Pad Split, Bungalow. They've really surged. But we're starting to see the middle of America fill in. And so co-living is not just for expensive markets any longer. Originally, it was seen as something that people are only making the decision if they are forced to co-live. And that's sort of the decision. And I lived in San Francisco, and the studio apartment was $2,800. It would have been hard for me to afford that. So I really didn't have a choice. But people still make, in other markets that they can't afford to live alone, people still choose to live together. Everyone wants to save money. And if you can save 30% on rent, then why not do it? So let's talk a little bit about how you can benefit from the co-living trend and the underlying trends that are kind of driving this. So my real estate investment mentor always told me, invest in the path of progress and you'll always make money. When I was analyzing the Austin market, when I moved there in 2015, one of the things that I was looking at is where, I'm looking at this city and it's growing outwards in a circle. But where are the lines where on one side of the line, it's $450,000 for a property, and then on the side of the line, the properties are $310,000, because we have an opportunity there as the city grows for that to become the cool area. And that's exactly how I invest in Austin. I did very well. It's very important to kind of keep this in mind. How can you invest in the path of progress? When you have something like Austin, which is just growing outward in a circle, doesn't take rocket science necessarily to do it. With co-living, it's less about geographic in the path of progress, and it's more about the demographic progress, right? So we're seeing a larger and larger pool, a larger and larger young adult, single, not living alone pool emerge. And as real estate investors, it's really important that we find progress and we get in its way, and then we offer it housing, right? So that's really the name of the game, and that's why this next section is going to go into why I think housing roommates, co-living in general, are really something that most real estate investors should be thinking about now. The opportunity is for all investors. These companies that have emerged they've generated hundreds of millions of enterprise valuation in the last couple of years. That's a lot of money. And they've really just been, by doing something that's not that innovative, right? Roommate housing, but putting a company in between that and the owner. They're just early adopters on a market that other investors have been slow to capitalize on. And why were normal investors slow to capitalize on it? Well, there's a lot of fear about roommate housing when we talk about it. We talk to VCs, some of the very, very smart people. Just the thought of having multiple personalities in a house, it sounds complicated, right? The one thing I like to mention here, and so this is if you're going to buy a co-living property or you're going to run your own roommate house, all these issues are solvable. Each one, if you chunk it down and you kind of, like any operational process, and you look at each individual issue, you solve it. We have, one of the big questions we get is, what happens if roommates have conflict? Well, we have a standard procedure: roommate meeting, and then a call with our Upwork-based counselor. If that doesn't work, then we talk to the roommates, and we may have to ask someone to leave. But these are automated processes; they don't stress us out. So I think the same thing applies here for anyone that wants to do a roommate house or capitalize on co-living. Operational challenges are all overcomable. There's no need to be afraid of the unknown here. Communication is one of the challenges as well, that overcoming that has become easier and easier with time. Slack is one of the tools that we use, and it's super effective. Risk can be offset. And that's one of the things we like to talk about is there's liability insurance and there's more security deposits per house. It does sound like you can have more damage if you have multiple young adults in a house. We've never had damage more than a security deposit in the history of our company. And we actually have more total security deposit over a property because they're paying 1 month's rent and our rent is $3,000 versus $2,000. So about 50% more security deposit over a house plus additional liability coverage. We've never had to use really either. So, why you shouldn't avoid roommate housing? There is more revenue with roommates. We're seeing 30 to 50% more revenue, rent revenue on a per house basis with the right type of property. And roommate revenue is more stable, and that's counterintuitive, but it is by definition more reliable to rely on multiple streams of income versus one, right? Diversification. So we're diversifying our tenants' income stream. So a single house has 5 young professionals, and those multiple income streams are, if one doesn't have income, then you can rely upon the income streams of the other 4. Even if that person leaves, you're still getting 40 or 80% of the rent. In homeowners history, we've never had a true full month of vacancy, right? So you see massive dips with single family properties. When a tenant leaves, you have to relist it. You have to pay a leasing agent to, lease it up. You have to pay to get it made ready. And then you probably have 30 to 45 days of vacancy. So it's basically 3 months of rent that you're going to get hit with there. With co-living, you don't have that, right? We have one person leave at a time. We go in and do a light make ready of the room, but there's no 0 months. There's no, and that stability of revenue is incredible. And most of and the worst we've actually seen is 66% of the rooms are filled in the house. That still was above the price, right? So we just have a lot of stability, a lot of resilience, and a lot of upside with higher revenue. So how do you capitalize as an investor yourself in co-living, roommate living? Do it yourself. I think this is how I started. You look for properties that work with roommates, and you can make significantly more by the room if it's the right property. A three bedroom, 2 bath may not be the right property to do this with, but a 5-3 may be. So I think it's really about looking and making sure that if you're going to do the roommate thing, which does require a bit more work, you're getting compensated by a lot more revenue. The other option would be to find a company that manages the property on a per room basis. I highly recommend if you do this, you do individual leases with each roommate. Once again, that's diversification of your revenue streams within a house. That company should handle leasing, management, and compliance. There are some roommate compliance issues you want to be mindful of. Homeroom, my company offers this today. Some standard property management companies do as well. Definitely good opportunity here. Obviously, you're still going to have to pay the property management fees with a standard property management company, but you can still make more revenue on a net basis. Regardless of your approach, I think the big takeaway that I like to mention here is that be open to new opportunities and stay connected to trends. I think probably most people joining this call didn't know that 1 in 5 millennials are living alone. So being in touch with the trends of how demographics are shifting and how we can get in front of those trends to make better returns is really important. Real estate has changed a lot in 2020. Some traditional asset classes have had trends accelerate, office space because of remote working, retail space because of online shopping. So there may be less, the performance may decrease in some of these assets. New trends will emerge with outsized gains for the risk profile, and that is all investments, right? That's the game. How do you increase your returns while lowering your risk, right? And so how do you get returns that are better than anything else at that same risk level? We think co-living is the best option here in terms of its risk profile. Definitely keep your eyes open for those opportunities, even if they sound strange on the surface. What operational process can you learn from co-living? This is fun. I made this with my team. And so hopefully you guys will enjoy this. There's some really nice takeaways, especially at the very end about the virtual assistant. So first of all, remote self-management is possible for investors now. So I think when I began to poke around on BiggerPockets 10 years ago, conventional wisdom said, do not self-manage remotely ever. Technology and the gig economy has now enabled this to be possible. And there's some really awesome self-management options out there at a certain level of units. If you get above 5 units, I think your strategy long-term needs to start to move towards property management. But at a certain number of units, it's very feasible with using companies like Hemlane, which I highly recommend. They help you connect you with vendors. They help connect you with leasing agents. They make a lot of it easier. Or self-manage through your own tools. So it's definitely possible with technology. And we actually do remote management in most of our portfolio. The other thing is be smart, use smart home tech. The biggest one, I think the most valuable piece of hardware, software, anything that homeroom has is our smart locks. Smart locks on your door do everything. It's your key management system. It's your new candidate lease. When they get their lease and they sign it and they pay their deposit, you send them a key digitally. It's beautiful. You can let tenants, you can do tours, remote tours. You can let in vendors. There's just so much you can do with the Yale Smart Lock. We use Rently to manage it. So I highly recommend that investment. It's about $450 all in. You'll save that in the first year. Smart thermostats we like because one of the biggest and most painful moments is when an HVAC or a furnace goes out in the winter or summer. It's really nice to be able to look at the trends. Are they using the thermostat correctly? Can what happened before? And so that stuff, it's helpful. Smart thermostats are not that expensive these days. We get ours for about $70. It's more of a nice to have than a necessity, like the smart lock, but definitely valuable. Self-schedule video interviews. So use the Zoom and Calendly combination that most salespeople use, or most everyone's using today, to send it to vetted candidates and have them book you and do a video call with them before you self-schedule a self-showing with your smart lock. Then do showing coordinators, use the showing coordinator software. Tenant Turner, Show Mojo, both really good. They have smart lock options. If you have your own smart lock, you don't need to use those. But yeah, so this is just things that are going to make your life a lot easier and be a lot more effective. One of the other things we like to do at Homeroom is, in an effort to kind of help young adults grow into adulthood in a more significant way, we consider them partners, and we kind of constantly reinforce this concept to them so that they can learn how to do their own self-care of the property. They can learn how to be a part of something and communicate well. And then, so we have them give tours for our future tenants, and we occasionally have them advertise for the rooms. We also ask for their feedback on all tenant candidates. And this is something you can do with a single family property too. Have your current tenant give tours, then have them give feedback. Tenant candidates will usually open up a little bit more to the current tenant than they will to you, right? Because you're the owner. We have something called in our lease called the $25 and 30-minute rule. If something costs less than $25 or takes less than 30 minutes to solve, the tenant is our partner and they're going to do that, right? So that's, basic pest control at the first stage, like buying a mousetrap, or, doing something that takes 30 minutes to repair a light bulb, anything like that. That's always on the tenant. We don't get that specific. We say it's under this price or it's under 30 minutes. It's on you. We will provide them some instruction like, hey, you don't know how to solve this minor drain clog issue. Here's kind of what we recommend to do that. Here's a link to what you can buy on Amazon for $10. Then we recommend subscription for furnace filters. We ask them to send us pictures after it's been changed. And we highly recommend beefing up your move out checklist. It's a really nice time to get, them to take some pride in their move out and kind of help your company. So make sure that is, they can get, a lot of times we get our units turned over and they're move-in ready. So that's something we highly recommend. Here's another key thing that we do at Homeroom that has been really helpful is ongoing inspections. I think are something that are neglected by property managers a lot. And it's just because the price and the benefit, it's hard to justify. So one of our principles is every time a handyman's on site, they're going to eyeball major systems, HVAC, gutters, property upkeep in general, cleanliness, and yard. And so that's something that all of our guys are doing. They use a digital form to give us feedback. Our maids are on site once a month, and they actually grade for cleanliness. So it's every time someone's on site, they should be looking up, and they should kind of be reporting information back to you about the property. The most annoying thing to owners and anybody is when an issue arises and it could have been solved, but now it's become a bigger issue and it costs more time and money. Right, so we want to catch all that stuff that we can. Go paperless, go keyless. It's 2020. If we only accept digital payments. We only accept digital deposits. Payments are all on auto pay. Leases via online tools, and again, smart locks. You don't have to manage keys. There's just no reason. There's a pandemic. Makes it a little bit easier to not do this. But yeah, there's just no reason to have a file cabinet or even a printer in today's property management ecosystem. Okay, so this is something that our director of operations, Caitlin McPherson, helped me create. She worked at APM Help, which is they have 100 team members in the Philippines today, and she's managed teams of 10 to 20 at a time. And so she is like the best person I've ever met about sourcing virtual systems. So definitely listen up to this. Her first tip is consider the skills that you need, right? So is English proficiency important? What are their political environment? She has some people in Venezuela that work for her. It's tumultuous. So you have to be kind of aware of that. It's important to kind of, be empathetic as well. What time zone are they in and when are they willing to work? Are they willing to match your hours? And what is their internet reliability? Her team in the Philippines, if they don't show up, it's because sometimes their internet went down. And it's also important to check to make sure that they're not showing up for work. So that's, she's getting a VA. We're talking about some of these team members that we have at Homeroom and the Venezuela team are 75 cents to $1.50 an hour. Some in the Philippines are $500 a month or $3 to $6 an hour. And they are trained in our systems. They are highly effective. We have one doing our accounting. I just think that the VA is one of the leverage points that any real estate investor should be utilizing. And I don't think it's a bad idea for most people to be utilizing in their personal life as well. Another part of the VA kind of, tips and tricks, online jobs at PH that's counted. This is like the most valuable thing. This is where you can hire really great candidates in the Philippines. She said it's worth listening to me talk about co-living for 30 minutes. So hopefully she's right. Upwork and Fiverr are nice if it's a short term. Those are more expensive, but it is kind of curated for you. One thing she mentioned is if someone's spamming you on LinkedIn or in your email inbox, those people have gotten through, they know what they're doing. They might be a really good VA. And so she's actually hired people that have done that to her, and they've ended up being very effective because it is harder to know the technology, to get through to people on LinkedIn, to get through inboxes. Typically, those skills come in handy if they work for you. The last piece on the VA side is how to manage a VA that works for you overseas. Bonuses go a long way. Talha works for me in Pakistan. He gets a bonus if he reaches a certain level of ad posting every week. And he asks me every Monday morning first thing, right? $25 is what we give him for that. It's a big deal to him. It's probably the biggest deal to him. So it just goes a long way. It's definitely worth it. Increases morale. And it's, that's not a big amount of money to homeroom. Still require, you really still need to invest in relationships and rapport, even if they're overseas and the hourly rate's not that high. They're employees and they're looking for investment or opportunities to advance their career as well. And cultural differences. Be mindful of those, mindful of their holidays. If possible, allow for their holidays to be off, even if it's not an American holiday. And the last tip Caitlin had was use TransferWise. It's an international way to transfer money. The fees are way lower than PayPal. It is super valuable for anyone doing VA hiring in which they're actually working directly for you. And so that's it. So I'm going to kind of go into one last 5-minute spiel here. This is about homerooms, co-living product that we sell to real estate investors. We're focused in the center of America, Midwest and Texas. Right now, Kansas City, Austin, and Dallas are our main markets. So the homeroom offering is that we offer reduced risk and more revenue and better property care to real estate investors. And so it's we offer a 3-year lease guarantee. So if you buy a homeroom property in partnership with us, we guarantee 0 vacancies for up to 3 years. For 3 years. And then after the end of the 3-year lease, we will offer a guarantee of a renewal for up to 5 years. We include no cost property management. It's free to do that. We make our money by subleasing out the bedrooms to tenants. And that's how we make our margin. We generally are looking for really high quality neighborhoods. So it's not, kind of the war zone or the rural areas. It's really great assets. This is a typical property for us. This is in Kansas City, $195,000, about $40,000 out of pocket, $1,700 a month in rent guarantee from us, and the mortgage is $1,244 with interest and taxes. There's no vacancy because we guarantee rent. Property management is free, and then we recommend our investors put $150 aside for repairs every month. So the monthly forecasted cash flow is $306, 10% cash yield, 27% ROI. The lenders are really excited about this because they're, you can tell they're younger and they wish they could have lived like this out of college, but it wasn't around. I'm going to take a really quickly. I don't know what's going on there. Really quickly, this is one of our properties. This is the property we just looked at. We advertise it on our website. Each one gets a page, gets a professional floor plan, so that out-of-state people can look if they're moving and see how big the bedrooms are. They can meet their roommates, hobbies, job. These are actually the roommates in this house today. So they can see if hey, maybe this will be a good fit for me. Morgan likes happy hours, so do I. We also do a Matterport tour of the property itself. And that helps, once again, people out of state or people that don't want to do in-person tours due to COVID. And so the property is furnished, professional interior design. We do, the kitchen items are here. We have some homeroom items here. This is a chore wheel where it helps them keep track of their chores in the house. The process to buy a homeroom is simple. Pre-approval from a lender. We have a few you can choose from, or you can use your own. Then we'll help you analyze and buy the perfect co-living property. We do not hold inventory like a turnkey company, so we're flexible to match what you want, right? And so that's the main reason there. We also don't make a giant chunk of money on flipping a property. We buy retail properties, typically better value, better assets. Once it's bought, we set up and lease it, we manage and maintain it, and we help you eventually evaluate and exit it. We are partnered with a real estate brokerage. We can help you sell when you're done. We can help you transition. We can help you sell to another co-living investor as well, off market. So that's part of we have a marketplace for that. Our approach is better. Our competitors in the turnkey space are bad areas, outsourced and expensive management, and we are in great neighborhoods with excellent and free management. So we think that's a lot better. Kansas City is one of our kind of our main hub today, although Dallas is growing faster. Really strong cash flow, really nice startup growth, good tech job growth, good medical coverage. I was actually pleasantly surprised that Kansas City has better medical coverage than Austin. Nice job growth, nice population growth. And this is one of my favorite charts about Kansas City. Over the last 50 years, prices of real estate have only gone down one time, and that is in 2008. So the hyperinflation of the 70s, the dot-com bubble of 2001, Kansas City real estate stayed flat or went up, right? So that's, you can buy an asset here in Kansas City real estate that's only gone down one time in 50 years. You can leverage it 5 to 1. It's a pretty good bet. I highly recommend it. I have a number of properties here myself. Really like Dallas as well. Dallas has been drawing headquarters from California and all over the nation for a long time. Schwab is one of the recent larger ones to move to Texas from California. Dallas is just a very diverse 6 million person metroplex, lots of Fortune 500s. We see the appreciation potential in Dallas to be higher than Kansas City. But I did see a recent stat that rent has gone down as much as 31% in San Francisco due to COVID, but in Dallas, it's only gone down 0.05%. So Dallas is incredibly stable as well. Few frequently asked questions, and then we'll be done here. What happens after the initial 3-year lease? Home Guarantees will offer a renewal of up to 5 years, and that's up to each individual investor, how long they want to do that for. What happens if Homeroom can no longer rent the property from you? Well, we actually will pair you with a local property manager as you're buying the property. That'll be your backup plan. So if Homeroom can't rent the property for whatever reason, that property manager is already committed to taking over the property and converting it to a standard single family rental. It'll still return really nicely. Obviously with Homeroom a little bit better, but if this is a long-term buy, these are great assets. We're making sure that it works over the life of your property with or without Homeroom. If you want to sell, you can sell at the end of your lease or during your lease to another co-living investor at any time. The team is me, John Wolf Sr., who's co-founder at GuideSpark, money management educator and real estate investor, and Sara Hoverson is our data scientist. And he helps us kind of think through purchasing properties in the most effective and efficient way for investors. And these are typical properties. This is actually my last slide here. These are typical properties we have in Kansas City, about 190 to 220,000, 7 to 10% cash on cash, ROI between 20 and 30% is kind of what we typically say. And Bobby, that is all for me today. Thank you so much for having me, man.
You bet. You bet. Very nicely done. So folks, we can do two things. I know some questions have popped up. I'm going to go ahead and take some of those questions. And the first one is for Sarah. What is the minimum unit that for livable that you would want to sort of entertain?
Oh, we don't have a unit minimum. So yeah, we can do, single family. As a matter of fact, I just had a call with someone this morning that has a single family home with 9 renters. So big home here in Los Angeles. They rent out to 9 separate people on separate leases, just rooms. So perfect situation for exactly, what Johnny was just talking about. If the owner, the leaser is paying for the utilities, we have an easy way to divide those up, bill the individual renters, and ADUs, single family, all the way on it.
Awesome. I'm sure Johnny and you will have a conversation later on for your home. So good stuff. All right. This is again from Alicia. I'm helping owners at ADUs. Would your solution work with SFR? I think you already answered. It does work for SFR and ADUs, so that's good. I've got a question from Tony. I've seen energy reports for 20,000 square foot commercial buildings. Has the reporting requirement moved down to smaller size buildings?
Yeah, so that I think that I'm not 100% sure. I know that the requirements vary depending on either the state or the market. And then, yeah, for multifamily, I think it's a combination of several factors, including square footage and unit count, and potentially others as well. So kind of we would need to take a look at what the property is and do a little more research.
Sure. Hey, Tony, yeah, just do reach out to Sarah. I believe you have her contact information. All right, from David, this is for Johnny. I'm interested in this concept of co-living, but what impact have it had on demand for co-living?
Yeah, that's a question we get a lot, and it's actually taken front and center stage in one of our pitch deck slides. So the dynamic we have seen is that out of about 2% of our total population had some COVID concerns due to pre-existing conditions. And so we let those folks out of their lease, obviously. But then we had a number of people who were looking to move away out of their parents' house because their parents were asking them to, because they were working in the field and they were coming back and forth, and the parents felt concerned about that. So we actually saw a net increase in demand in our properties. We're very lucky in that our rent prices have not been affected in our markets. I know that some of the bigger players in San Francisco, they've seen massive price decreases. And so I don't think it's the unit demand that's hurt them. It's that the price decreases have been so painful.
God, it makes a lot of sense. Let's see here. I think those are all the questions that came in through chat. Okay, here's one from Tony. Are landlords allowed to charge more than 100% of their utility bills to the tenants? That's from Tony. I like the way Tony thinks, but I don't know.
More than 100%, absolutely not. No, we don't even charge 100%. The maximum amount we do is 90%. Yeah. So we do account for, fluctuations, variations. We have to be very careful not to overcharge, which is why, we don't bill back 100%.
Yeah. All right. And then, Johnny, do you want to share? We have a couple of minutes left. Do you want to share the Trinity property, like the numbers that you're looking at? I don't know if it's handy or not, but
yeah, I can pull it up, no problem.
Folks, so here's a real live example of something that that Johnny, myself, and Better Capital we are looking at. This we think is a great opportunity for somebody that the benefits are that Johnny and team are going to be managing your property, but your returns are going to be, significantly higher or very attractive compared to what you would be able to do on your own. So here, I don't know if you can zoom in a little bit.
Yeah, I can zoom in, no problem.
Yeah, there you go.
So just a heads up, folks, we are working to put this in the web, but for now it's in Excel. As a financial analyst, I like it, but this is a summary of a deal, right? So this is a deal. This deal that's live today. Down payment is $36,750. Inspections, we're forecasting closing costs. We wrapped into the deal, setup expenses, and basically post inspection repairs of the furniture and that stuff is about $14,400. So total out of pocket on this one is about $52,000. Cash on cash returns of 8.5%. Annualized return of 6.9. This one is in a suburb of Dallas. We really really just like the entire Metroplex a lot. We have lenders that allow for 15% down, so that's helpful. Obviously, there's PMI associated with it. But the property is 245. We're pretty conservative on our appreciation assumptions. 1.9, we basically do inflation in Kansas City, and then in Dallas, we do inflation plus 0.5%. We do think there's upside here. We know that it's hot. I personally think it's going to be much higher than that over the next 10 years on average, but we want to be conservative. So we do a 2.41% forecast appreciation. And so that's pretty conservative number there. Then the value add construction and setup. And then this is the guaranteed rent number that Homeroom offers, $2,300 per month. The cool thing about buying with Homeroom is you already have a tenant. We are the tenant. We're guaranteeing this rent of 3-year, and it's corporate backed. We've made hundreds of rent payments, on all of them on time. We would love to go toe to toe with any tenant that could say that. So, obviously there's risk with every tenant, even us, but we think when you pair us up against anyone else, it's an easy win for Homeroom. We go into PMI, we go into property taxes, insurance, and we have everything in here. $150 repairs, and then the cash on cash and return on investment. So we have it, very detailed. Our team is looking in there, scouring. There's only maybe 2 or 3 properties per metro that we see a month that we like. We do a video walkthrough. In this case, it's here. We look at the street view on Google to make sure the parking works for co-living. Super important. We don't do any HOA. So we're doing all these kind of checks to make sure that this property works. And then when we get one, we'll send it out. We, like I said, we only will have 2 or 3 per month in Dallas, 2 or 3 a month in Kansas City. That's been sort of one of the things that we're working on expanding to other markets so we can offer more investors more deals. We're kind of talking to someone right now that wants to do 10 properties at once. And so, it's like if that's the kind of scale, we need to have more markets so we don't have a bottleneck.
Okay. And Johnny, on the last line, that is 26%. Is that annual? That's annualized over 3 years, I believe, right?
Correct. Yep.
Okay. So that takes into account cash flow, depreciation, appreciation, everything over 3 years, but annualized.
Correct. We actually do not include depreciation or tax benefits. We just, that number varies, so we don't include it. So we're maybe underselling the returns a little bit. If you get tax benefits from real estate, which a lot of people do, your return will actually be higher than this.
Gotcha. All right, folks. Thank you, Johnny, for walking us through a real live example. Like I said, if you are looking to invest in some of these emerging markets that are really good, solid, with good migration numbers, do reach out to Johnny or through me, or however you want to reach out to Homeroom. But also thank you, Sara, for the presentation and educating our members. Folks, we will be having the same presentation. So if you have friends who you think could benefit from learning, we're going to meet again at 6 p.m. Pacific today. So you can invite your friends or somebody, your colleagues, coworkers that might benefit from this, and have us join at 6 p.m. But if you have things to do, great. Otherwise, I'd like to demo. My buddy Ram and I, we've been working on a startup idea, and we're looking for some beta testers. But I'll give you a quick demo of what we have developed, and it'll only take a couple of seconds. But here's what we have built. We've built a dashboard that allows real estate owners, investors, to track the performance of their properties, right? So here's one in Independence. This is all sample data. So I can see the performance of my assets in different markets. What's my net operating income, my cash ROI, purchase cap rate, and so on and so forth, including things like syndication. So if you have a syndication, you can still track it. This is also for homeowners and general partners and so on. And Sara, as you were chatting, I was as you were presenting, I was chatting in simultaneously with my partner, and we'd love to integrate the utility data into our platform. But that's a different discussion. But I think it would be cool to have that kind of data available on the dashboard as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great. But folks, if you are looking, if you're open to being a beta tester on our platform, do reach out to me at bobby@bettercapital.us. We'll sit down, we'll do a one-on-one, or we'll do a small group demo. But the whole idea here is that you can track all your documents, your pictures of your property. So for example, if they installed a new HVAC system or a new roof, You can import documents into your system. You can track all your transactions over here. You can see how your property is performing, and so on and so forth. But I'm happy to give you a deep dive if you're interested. So let's see here. I think let's see. I think David. Oh, okay. David had one more question for you, Johnny. How much of the setup expenses is for furniture? Do you not have to reserve the replacement of those for every 3 to 5 years? That was one question from David.
David, I like the question, man. That's a great one. It's very perceptive. So here's one of the things that we do very well is the furnishing, and the setup cost is kept to a minimum. We have interior design people, and the entire setup of the homeroom package is less than $3,000. So you're able, that's the first setup. We've actually yet to have to replace any furniture in the life of our company. We know that repairs of the furniture is going to be part of the repairs assumptions though. But generally what we're doing, and this is sort of something we worked with some experts on this early on, is that we're buying high quality used furniture at estate sales versus buying low quality IKEA furniture. IKEA furniture, once it gets beat up, you throw it out. High quality estate sale furniture, you repair it, right? And so we have the ability to repair furniture. Our designers actually have connections to do that. So our plan is for the useful life of this furniture and setup to be much longer than 3 to 5 years. And we don't expect to be replacing the whole thing. But of course there will be some wear and tear on that. But when the starting price, including the smart TV, including the Alexa, including the couch, the chair, everything is $3,000. You can imagine that maintaining it over 10 years or 20 years is not going to be that expensive.
Very good. Very good. Very nice. All right, folks. Thank you, everybody. I know it's we wanted to do this presentation during your lunch hour, but hopefully we'll see you soon. We've got more events planned. You'll hear about them soon. But thank you for being part of the community, and bring your questions, and see you soon. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Johnny.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye, guys.
Thanks so much for having me, Bobby.
You bet, Johnny. Take care.
Okay.
All right. See you in a bit. All right.